Welcome back to the Six Rings Canes. Jazz Santana here, joined by my good friend here, Jakari Givens. Hey, Jock, how you doing, buddy?
Good.
It's a great wave you got there, man. It's a great wave. Hey, guys, make sure you check us out on the Five Reasons Sports YouTube channel. Subscribe, give us a thumbs up, support the show. We love to hear from you Canes fans as well in the comments section. If you guys ever have anything to say, go ahead and throw us a question or a comment there. We'll be sure to get to you, or answer it as quickly as we can. Jock, obviously, we want to kind of recap a little bit about what happened in Week 1 as the Canes, lost to Alabama, and of course, preview a little bit of Appalachian State as well as we get into Week 2 of college football. We will then bring in Manny Chang also, who will talk to us a little bit. We'll cover just Week 2 in college football in general, top 25, and some big matchups as well as we move into the second week of the NCAA. So without further ado, Jock, let's get right into it, man. Obviously, a tough game for the Miami Hurricanes, as we all know, dropping that game to Alabama. I believe the final score was 44-13, if I'm not mistaken. Canes came out what seemed like not prepared. I'm sure, Jock, you might have something to say about that, but just based off of what some other teams did against other programs that were highly ranked, they, quote unquote, had no shot of winning the game. You still got to come out prepared. You still got to play. But again, man, that Alabama team obviously showed us that they didn't skip a beat, really, right? They brought in the freshman quarterback, Bryce Young, who looked exactly like what you said and like what a lot of people said, a Heisman hopeful as a freshman. I mean, he looked the part. He made some great throws. Had the instincts to get out of the pocket and make a lot of plays like that with his legs, even though he didn't run a lot, but he still made a lot of plays with his feet as well. At the end of the day, it was the Canes were just overmatched by a team that I think is going to do that to anybody in the country this year. But nonetheless, I think it was a disappointment to see the way the Canes came out. Not completely prepared. Although some of the plays, if we break down film, I'm sure, Jock, you'll say, we actually spoke about this a little while ago, maybe a few hours ago, really quick, how, break down some of the plays where Miami could have made a big play or could have, had something going, but they just didn't get the chance to. Derek King might have made the wrong read, or he just got too much pressure on that strip sack, things like that, right? So talk to me a little bit about what you saw in the game, how Miami came out, but also about, what Alabama did to kind of neutralize anything that we could possibly get going.
Well, for one, it was a poorly called game. I know people will look at the players, but Rick Lashley didn't call a great game at all. We seen no QB run game. Um, we didn't see any future in Will Mallory as well. He only had 2 catches the whole game. Um, a lot of missed shots. In the second half, they started taking those shots down the field, but to the point, when you don't involve Derek King in the run game, that's very troubling for you because essentially with QB run game, why it's so hard to defend, and that's why it's trickled down to the NFL. You're essentially playing 7-on-6, right? You're outmanning them in the box with the QB because they have to account for the quarterback, and they don't have enough guys to do that. So when you take that future out of the game, combined with not coming out ready to play, and not really game planning to attack Alabama where you could have attacked them, right? Alabama defensive backs played very well. So we're not gonna really, speak on the receiver play because their DBs played a hell of a game. They did have a player in the game where Mike Harley was 1-on-1 at the bottom of the screen. A lot of people were saying that he should have threw it, but again, it was good coverage by the defensive back. You could take the shot, maybe Harley makes a play, but you don't know that yet. And I think Alabama just was in basic coverage. I don't think Alabama was scared of Miami's running game. So they were really just press man to man on the outside, playing a lot of man coverage, and they were just basically telling Miami like, if you beat us throwing the football, we're fine, right? Because that's
Yeah.
essentially what the team says. When you're man to man, and we're gonna stop the run, and if you beat us over the top, we're fine. We'll live with that, right? Because every time, guys, from a football perspective, every defense has its weakness, right?
Right.
So you know a team that play a lot of cover three, you know you're inviting the team to throw the deep balls or RPOs on you, right? Because you only got one safety. When you play cover four, you're conceding everything underneath. Like, hey, I'll just get us up. When you bring blitzes and pressures like that, you're leaving your guys on the island, so you're banking on your guys winning their one-on-one matchups. I don't think Keontre Smith struggled in coverage. Corey Flagg, both times in the red zone, they went to the tight end and he scored on the mirror routes. Basically, he sold on
Right.
exactly the same route twice, essentially. One was a drag and the other one was a angle route from the tight end. He cross faced Keontre, I think that was, and hit him in the end zone.
Yeah.
Um, then you had the one big play by the number one kid, which is just a big play that happened. That kid just he got behind the secondary, couldn't catch him. So Miami did
I know
not
you,
play.
and by the way, I know you say that this is part of football, and it is. I get it. There was definitely a huge holding call on that play too,
Yeah, and it's part of
right?
football because the play before should have been a safety, right?
Right.
Didn't get called. They scored a touchdown the next play, which was a coverage bust. Looked like Miami was in some type of two shell look, or whatever, because they had a safety in corner. So it looked like they was in a two shell look. They ran a corner route, if I'm not mistaken, and the kid turned up on the sideline. So if they were in cover two, that's a cover two beater when you run that skinny seven like that to that dead area right there. He hit him in stride. The kid was able to turn on the field. So I
Right.
think just Miami has to just buckle down. I'm not going to judge them after one game, but the effort has to be better, right?
Absolutely.
You look at that play that Trey Sanders scored on the running back. If you see that clip from the back angle, you would be upset. Nestor Silva's getting blown off the football. These guys are getting blown back into the linebackers' laps,
And then Corey
right?
Flag hit the wrong gap, right? Too,
Yeah, hit the
right?
wrong gap. Running back bounced it. It looked like a big seal, right? They just sealed everything off inside. So Miami just has to play with better effort, be more, and to Manny Diaz, he didn't really have a game plan for Alabama, right?
And
Most
but
teams,
isn't that concerning? You got to have a game plan for a team like that,
yeah,
right?
most teams when they play Alabama, like defensively, they either you look at the teams who play them close every year, Auburn, uh, the LSU's of the world. They normally run with a lot of speed on the field, right? So they do a lot of 5-6 man defensive back packages to keep it right because they're not threatening. They don't want you to beat them deep. So I just don't. The game plan wasn't there for me.
Yeah.
I can't even put it into words because they didn't have a scheme. They didn't know if they were going to pressure Bryce Young. They didn't know if they just wanted to drop eight and play coverage. They didn't know like, hey, let's commit all these guys to stopping the run. I just think they were calling too much of a conservative game, and when they did,
You even mentioned
essentially
that when they put pressure on him, they had a little more success, right?
yes, they had more success, even though he was, his stats would say differently, but it was just to speed him up. It was not guy like a lot of people think when you bring blitzes is like, of course you wanted to get home, but that's not the process of the blitz. The blitz is
Right.
to speed the guy up into making a bad decision, right?
Right.
Or making a throwaway down. So Miami didn't, like I said, Miami did it, but I think he got too exotic with the pressures because when he brought basic pressures, they were getting home. Miami's interior D line played very well for the most part, besides a couple of plays. But Miami didn't play as bad as people think, and I think people have to calm down. But I do think it was very concerning that offensively it was no game plan really, and defensively it was no game plan. It's just like Lashley and Manny Diaz kind of froze up in the moment.
I'll tell you this. I agree with you. I think that it was at times too conservative, and then at times they just didn't know what they were going to do, and they were just just out there, like you said, just giving just doing whatever it is that they wanted to do. I mean, it wasn't really like, okay, well, let's adjust, let's make these adjustments, and let's do this. It's fine. Let's find their weakness. It's fine what they're what they're doing and kind of combat that. And I don't know. I don't know how to explain it either. Like, I'm with you. Like, I'm kind of at a loss for words about that. However, what you mentioned, right? The interior line, like John Ford had one of the highest grades, and of all the whole team. I think it was John Ford. I think Corey Flagg actually had a decent grade, and then gosh, who was the other one? It was a cornerback that had a cornerback or a safety that had a really good grade. I think it was James Williams actually had a good grade. So some of these guys played particularly well. The problem is, and Jock, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if Rhett Lashley called, and this is just me thinking out loud, right? I don't know if Rhett Lashley called specifically, such a bad game. I think what happens is he's calling certain plays and they're not being executed correctly, because I saw one specific play where the Eric King, it was an RPO, and it was a screen pass, right? It was a screen pass. It was like three wide receivers to the left. You had one on the right, and then you notice that as soon as he gave the handoff, you see the inside guy, I guess a slot guy, kind of back up, right? Take a few steps back. And he said, okay, well, maybe that's where he should have gone. He had two receivers in front of him for blocks. And instead, he gave the ball off to, I think it was Cam Harris. And they got no yards on the play. They got like maybe 1 yard, as opposed to maybe faking the run, the handoff, and giving him that nice little bubble. I know it's a bubble screen, and everybody hates that bubble screen or that screen pass. But
Nah,
listen,
nah, nah.
that's what you have to do, man. That's what
It's
you have
an
to do.
extension of the run game. But see,
Yeah. And I think
Miami,
that he made the wrong read. So I think that's what happened a lot too. And these guys got, I don't want to say scared. I think scared is the wrong word, because look, you're a football player, man. You're not scared, but I think they got timid. They got too much in their head. Oh, they're stopping everything that we're doing. We're not converting. We're not getting, more than three yards on a play. And so it gets to your head, and then you stop executing what you need to possibly get it going. You saw it, right? You saw they executed that first drive in the third quarter. They took it all the way down, and then they made a boneheaded play because they got ahead of it. They got too I guess nervous, or too quick with their no huddle, and I think that they screwed it up there right at the end. But you saw that they were able to execute on some plays. And by the way, that drive, they got the ball. I think that was the drive that they got the ball to Will Mallory. So Keyshawn Smith is another one who had a pretty decent game,
had a
right?
great game.
So I mean, look, at the end of the day, there's a lot to build off of. I don't want everybody to kind of knee jerk and get crazy about the fact that we lost 44-13 against the number one team in the country. That's probably going to do that to just about any team that they face this year. So I mean,
I think Alabama was probably the one team that I seen all weekend that I was just like, they're as good as they're advertised to be. But there's a little number crunch here. Miami was 6 of 14 on third down. Alabama was 10 of 16, and most times when you're not converting third downs, you're putting your defense in a bad spot.
Right.
They had 5 total punts, 3 turnovers, which you cannot have. And like I said, it was no plan. It was no plan. King had decent stats: 23 of 30, 179 yards, but that's not, that's a no threat offense because you're basically dinking and dunking right now, and like stuff like that. Then running wise, right? You had 12 Cheney had 7 for 23. Cam Harris had 12 for 37. And De'Aaron King had 9 carries for 10 yards. Obviously, they factor in sacks.
Right.
But in a game like this, King should have had at least 15 carries, design run calls.
Jock, how concerned are you about them not giving the ball more to Don Chaney? I know you're concerned about De'Aaron King not running the ball, but how concerned are you about them not giving the ball? Because, by the way, just so you know, apparently, according to some people out there, they actually apologized to Don Chaney after the game for not giving him the ball more and not including him more in the offense, because he was really pissed off that he didn't get a chance. How concerned are you about that?
Um, you know, just from experience being a coach, sometimes you get caught up in the moment, right? So nothing's going right for you. So it's just like, damn, you might forget about a guy, or you might not, call the game as basically how you should. You see in the second half how they was getting him the ball more, right? It's just that when you come back down to earth, it's such a big game for you guys. In the first half, you're just thinking trying to win. But in the second half, you kind of, after the game got out of hand, you kind of come back to reality and say, hey, let's just do what we do and see how successful we were. And that's kind of what happened. If you look at the second half, the score would have been 17-10 had Miami been playing like that. Granted, Alabama had their backups in, but still, Miami had a lot of positives to build off in that second half. But it's just like I said, your mind has to, as a coach, you sort of kind of get lost in those big games. That's why it's such a thing of having a coach who's good in big games, who knows how to pull those plugs. Like, hey, let's just ride the hot hand here. That make or break coaches, right? You look at Nick Saban, he gets it done in the big game, right? If you look at the game against Georgia that year, they were losing. Quarterback went 12-1 the whole season. You put in your your freshman quarterback into it, and bam, you win the game. So it's kind of like pulling and plugging, knowing exactly what you need to do. But sometimes you get caught up in the moment and you realize too late, like, hey, we should have been
Yeah.
giving this guy the ball more. Or, hey, we should have did this more. So I wouldn't fault that. They apologize because you probably had a game plan of him touching the ball X amount of times and it didn't happen.
By the way, nobody does it better than Nick Saban at making those adjustments and knowing when to do that. Moving forward, right? So kind of get away from this game. We obviously saw some good things from certain players. We get into Appalachian State. Listen, we always everybody talks about how hey, Appalachian State is that team that kind of likes to slay the Giants. But the truth of the matter is that Appalachian State has had a pretty good decent team, right? They've had a decent team for quite some time now, but they really haven't beaten that big time top 25 team in in a while either. So while they've had some good teams, I think that people kind of get ahead of themselves and again knee jerk about the whole Appalachian State because of that big upset win against Michigan a while back. So I think the thing to remember here is look, they have a good team again this year. Chase Bryce coming back, Chase, I'm sorry, not coming back, but transferring over there. Half decent quarterback. Cameron Peoples, their running back, is a very good running back, right? They've got some guys that could compete at this level. But it's at the end of the day, this is a team that Miami needs to come out and put a whooping on, right? I mean, that's just the bottom line. You got to come out, you have to execute, you have to score a lot of points, and you have to play great defense. You have to create turnovers. You have to look like that dominant top 25 team against a team that shouldn't be on the field with you normally, right? So, my point is what I'm getting to here, Jock, is just going back to what I was saying about how we saw some of these players that kind of came into the game and made some plays and looked good. What do you want to see from the Canes this game? And are there specific players that maybe you're looking at to get a little more time or to be a little more productive this go
Well,
around?
first off, I'm gonna touch on the first guy. 85 needs to be involved in the game plan. That's a mismatch every week
Yep.
on the field. I like to see more of James Williams. He kind of, he played very well. I think, and I want to see Frierson getting the start too over
Yeah.
Carter. But I love to see Williams give him a shot. Um, Overall, I just want to see Miami come out and play football. Play loose. This team is not going to beat you. You're better than this team, right? But you have to show that. You can't let the like. What's going to be alarming for you as a fan and as an analyst if Miami comes out with the same intensity this week and it's like,
Or lack
okay,
thereof, right? Yeah.
yeah, like there, and you're like, oh no, like that's bad. So Miami just has to come out, play football. I don't care if they blow Appalachian State out. That's great if they do. I just want them to win the football game in the fashion of whether it's that close game where this team plays hard or it's that blowout game where they just come back. They have to respond from last week's ass whooping. They got their ass kicked. So it's about responding. It's not about if they win by 50 or if they win by 10 or 7 points. You're fine. You want to see your team respond, play better, right? And just come out and get a victory. So you just want to see them playing better, better intensity, and just more of a game plan from the coaches. Um, you don't go hire three high level defensive coordinator guys to not have a game plan on defense, right? Manny Diaz is a good coordinator, but T. Rob, Bob Shoot, is that his name?
Yep.
Bob
Mhm.
Shoot. Like, you don't hire those type of guys if you're not gonna have them involved in the game plan. And I said this earlier in the year, it was not gonna work. It's too hard. right? So I think he has to do better there, and Lashley has to be aggressive and be how he was in those games against the Florida States last year, against the Virginia Techs, knowing when to call the thing. Like, call a good game because you have the capability and the talent to call the game.
Yep. I mean I agree. I think that to me is going to be the most important thing is on the offensive side of the football is scoring points and scoring them in bunches and executing, but not you know. And I'll be honest with you, I don't want to see an I don't even know how you call it. I guess it's an RPO dive. Constantly. I get it. If you can do that, you can get 200
Well,
yards
the
rushing.
zone read. So
Those
most
zone
times,
reads. I'm
most times when you see them just hand it off, that's a design run. So you never like you be like, damn, why the quarterback didn't pull it because it's design. It's already a design call.
But I want to see less of those design zone reads, I think. I want to see them spread the ball out. I want to see them execute that offense that Rhett Lashley wants to execute. And I said this earlier. Rhett Lashley is not the guy. He's not a pass first run and gun kind of offensive coordinator. Believe it or not, he wants to run the ball first. He wants to run the ball first and then spread the ball out and throw. That's why Rob Likens is a passing game coordinator on this team. But
Yeah,
at the end of the
most
day, you got to throw the ball around. You got to give it to your playmakers, man. You got to score touchdowns.
and college football is more running centric.
Right.
So most guys want to run the football anyway, and it's demoralizing when a defense can't stop the run. So like I said, I just want to see a better called game, just in general. I think they called a terrible first game, so you
Mhm.
just want to see a game plan of what you're trying to do. Whether it's get your playmakers the ball, hey, you want to run the ball 30 times, well, let's show us that you want to run it 30 times.
That's
Show
it.
us different looks. I think the offensive line would be better with they made the change with Williams going to right tackle for this game. They named him guard.
Aluwasen, or whatever the hell his last name is. Jesus,
Yes, they
so hard
made
to say that guy's name. But
the guy from Houston.
yeah, well, no, he's actually from UNLV. Jared Williams is the guy from Houston. Actually, you know what? That's right. So basically, what they did was they're trying both guys out at right tackle, either Justice Oluwasen or whatever his last name is, and Jared Williams, and then they're moving one of the guys to right guard to see if that combination works with both of them on the field, and maybe moving Navon Donaldson over. I don't know what they're doing with Navon Donaldson, but I think they're going to try a couple
And
different
and
things on that side.
Skate played so bad as well. That's another
Yeah,
guy that
that's
you
why he
have
didn't
to.
play in the second half.
That's another guy that has to go look in the mirror
Ugh.
and say it's a gut wrenching time.
Yeah, tell me about it. Anyways, so obviously we'll be with you guys pregame show for that game on Saturday. The game is at 7 p.m. So we'll announce a pregame show time for Saturday as well with everybody on the show. So keep a lock for that.
Hold on,
That's
Jazz. Hold on.
yeah, yeah.
I did want to ask Jock a question because one comment that I thought he made was very important to Alex Dono on Monday was the fact that we rarely saw plays called for King. And so my concern with Alex was, well, if he's not yet 100%, if the coaching staff don't feel comfortable with it, Jock, then why put him out there against Alabama in which in one play, I hate to say it, you know what I mean? Wrong turn, wrong hit, wrong something could happen. If the player himself is not 100% confident in taking the field, why are you going to risk that, right? Because you still have the entire season ahead of you.
Yeah, and you kind of could tell that he wasn't 100% just because some of the play calls for one, but two, how he was running in the pocket or like certain movements he made, he wasn't 100% all in like you would see him if he was fully healthy, right? Sometimes last year you would see De'Aaron King tuck the ball and go for 30, 40 yards on the run. I think we seen him pull the ball down maybe once or twice. He did hit him for a good game, but he didn't look healthy and they didn't like you can tell he wasn't healthy because of the play calling, right? They were trying to run, they were trying to do things to get the ball out of his hands very fast. Maybe the offensive line play is concerning, but to your point, I felt like in this game, just this game solely, and I could be wrong. I felt like Jake Garcia would have gave him a better chance to win this game than De'Aaron King did, just because I don't think King is 100%. I think they just played him out of him pushing the narrative that he's healthy and them trying to prove a point that they've been driving to the media all year that hey, this guy's healthy, he's ready to play, he's killing rehab. So I think it was a little bit of both, and I think Manny Diaz got sucked into that. And Derek King is such a big thing for Miami. Got all
Now,
the
yeah.
IL deals.
So when you say that Manny Diaz got sucked into that, I'm so sorry, man. That's concerning. Because you'd think a
Well,
guy that's been out there, at least being in this program for a couple of years, man,
he's
you have
not,
no room for error anymore, brother. You can't.
he's
You
still,
have no more room for
but
error. Losing King in the first game
he's
against
still
Alabama,
growing.
knowing that the ACC, in all honesty, with Clemson bringing on new players, we understand that they're fully stoked. You don't know what you're going to get with Florida State. Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech, those teams are going to be like this. You can't risk an entire ACC season if you feel that you're sucked in because you want to, put your star player out there. That mentally speaking, no offense, I've never been through an ACL injury, right? I can only imagine the dedication and hard work that you got to put in the offseason that me, you, Jazz, we don't see this. But man, it's a heck of a risk.
And like I tell people all the time, when you have an injury, it takes 3 years to come back, no matter how you want to cut it. One, the first year you're just playing to get your confidence back, right? Second year, you're finally back into your groove, right? You over that fear. That third year is when you finally hit that stride where I'm like, okay, I'm back. Uh, for instance, you can't talk about freak athlete guys like an Adrian Peterson who tears his ACL and then come back 9 months later and rushes for 2,000 yards. You can't talk about guys like that. But you look at guys who've had, ACL injuries. Sometimes guys never recover until year 3. You look at a guy like Jason Verrett. He's had multiple injuries. He tore his ACL. And see how long it took him to revolve and get back to himself. Frank Gore, for instance, a guy who played in Miami, he had 2 ACL tears, but he didn't start hitting his stride in the NFL till his third, fourth year in the league, right? Because he finally had recovered in that third year of being comfortable running the football. Because when you get an injury, it's just like when you get in a car accident. You have a trauma over it, man. Like, you're not going to just get over it tomorrow. You're like, no, it takes a while. Like, damn, I don't want to run out of bounds, or damn, I don't want to plant in the ground or cut back cross field because I don't know if my knee going to hold up.
We'll see. Only time will tell now to see if he's going to be better this for the rest of the season. So hopefully, there is no setbacks, and I still feel like he gives them the best chance to win this year. So we'll see what happens.
I agree with that. I just said in that game particularly, I think Jake Garcia would have gave him a better chance.
No. All right. So with that being said, obviously we'll keep talking some Canes during the week, and Saturday is the game, 7 p.m. against the Appalachian State, whatever they are, the Appalachian State Mountaineers or some crap like that.
Show some respect, man. They beat Michigan 14 years ago. All right.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. My bad. That's what they're known for. So we kind of want to switch it over as we talk a little college football now as a whole, top 25 college football schedule, and we kind of want to break down a couple of the bigger games this coming weekend. And I think hey, look at that! Someone just popped out of nowhere, Manny. You gotta let me know, man. Yeah, you can't just.
I was waiting.
You can't just throw people on here without letting me know what's going on, man. Joined by Kelsey as well from 5 Reasons Sports. Big game. We got the Gators on one side, and we got the Canes and a half on the other side. It's Jogging's kind of like a Jayhawk / Cane over there. So, we'll talk a little college football now. Top 25. Listen, last weekend was kind of crazy, right? What a way to start off week 1 in college football with some really, really great games. Penn State, Wisconsin was a barn burner. That was a great game. Even FSU gave Notre Dame one hell of a fight as well as they went into overtime.
Down 18.
Yeah, down 18. I mean, that was huge. I think Mackenzie Milton obviously made a big difference there. But I just think, as we all know, right, Notre Dame is pretty overrated. As usual, they come out and they're overrated. But it is what it is, right? They still won, which is what they needed to do. The Gators played FAU with N'Kosi Perry coming back for FAU, which was kind of nice to see him, play. And but Florida did what they had to do. I'm really impressed with Anthony Richardson. I think that he is the future for that Gator quarterback position, just for that team as a whole. I love to see him play. And honestly, I think he's an exciting. I'm nothing, not to take anything away from Emory Jones, but Anthony Richardson is nasty.
Go to football first.
Yeah, he could sling it, and I'm sure that Manny and Kelsey will tell you that. And they'll tell you that Anthony Richardson can sling the ball.
Look like
Nothing, not to take anything away from Emory Jones because he didn't play
Nah,
terrible
hell
either.
nah, hell
He didn't
nah.
play
You
any.
take it away from him. You know, hell nah. He had 2 years to prepare for this moment, and he come out there like that. Hell no. And the whole spring.
Jog, this was my only thing, and me and Kelsey, we went through it very thoroughly for the post-game show. If that is the best performance that we're going to get out of Emory Jones against a team like FAU, and where you've been working with Dan Mullen the entire offseason, if your mistakes are basically, you're playing in your 25th college ball game, and I understand he's waited a long time for this spot. Not saying to take it away, but if that's the best he can do, making rookie mistakes, not throwing the ball late, hesitating in the whole pocket thing, when he faces Alabama in 2 weeks or SEC competition, what's going to happen then?
Well, anybody
the interception.
Anybody.
The interception for the freshman. He can't be doing that. So.
Well, I think the Richardson kid, to me, like at glance, he just reminded me like of a young Dak Prescott at Mississippi State. I know it's
basically a Dan Mullen fit quarterback. Basically.
Yeah. Again,
it's cliche to say it, but I really like when he broke down the sideline. He just looked like a more athletic Dak Prescott. Like I just remember 15 running down the field. So, like I think he's the guy going forward. I don't think Emory Jones has a case. Maybe you give him another chance, but you guys are planning to play Alabama in 2 weeks or a week, right?
Yes,
less than 2 weeks. Yep, week and a half.
So basically, one game and we're Wednesday, right? 2 practices down. So basically, one game and 6 practices before we play Alabama.
So let's kind of go down the list, obviously, of a couple of the bigger games. By the way, Florida plays South Florida, USF, this Saturday at 1 p.m. Looks like it's at South Florida, right, in Tampa. So
it is.
So that'll be, listen, South Florida got stomped in week 1, so I think that you guys are not going to have an issue with them at all. But stranger things has happened. It happens in college football, but I think you guys will be all right. So I think that that's going to be a game where you're not going to have any issues. Right underneath them is number 12 Oregon as they get set to face Ohio State. That's a huge matchup this week. Again, I like Oregon. They've got some athletes over there. I just don't know if they're going to be able to keep up with Ohio State for all 4 quarters. Talk to me a little bit, and maybe we can start off with Kels on this one. Talk to me a little bit about what you see in that Oregon OSU game, Kels.
I looked at the spread. I think Ohio State's favored by like 9.5 or something like that, or it might have even been more.
I think it's 14 and I think it was 14.
Oh, it's 14.5. Yeah. Okay, yeah. I mean, honestly,
Thibodeau's gonna play.
Yeah.
Oh, he is.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, honestly, I don't really see Oregon keeping up with them like you were saying. Ohio State's just too good, and the Pac-12 overall, it's not really that strong. I mean, UCLA beating LSU, but I don't see. I mean. Maybe it'll be an entertaining game in the first half, but I think after that, it's just Ohio State's going to be up big. So.
Yeah, well, Minnesota gave them a nice run for their money last week.
Sure, yeah.
CJ Stroud's first game, obviously, I think that he's kind of gotten settled in. I think it's more important to see what the defense is going to do because on offense they've got all the players, man. They've got Chris Olave, they've got I can't remember this other guy, this other wide receiver. Oh, Garrett Wilson. They got Master Teague and Kavion Henderson, who looks like he's going to be the real deal over there also. So I'm not too concerned about their offense. It's their defense that maybe might struggle a little bit more because they did lose a lot of guys last year. So Manny, how do you see that game as far as OSU and Oregon?
Well, when you only scored 31 points against Fresno State and you gave up 24 points, that's kind of concerning. Again, Oregon is supposed to be that top-notch offense where you're able to go, up and down the field. Like normally by halftime, they should already have 30 points regardless. But listen, it's the first home game again for Ohio State, especially at the Shoe. You're going to get fans. They're going to be crazy. I mean, we all saw this weekend, right? I've never seen the Swamp that packed in months, right? And there's other stadiums as well that were super packed, and you're like, damn, like this is what we really missed as college football fans was the atmosphere itself. So imagine 100 screaming Ohio State fans screaming their tails off for all 4 quarters, and Oregon is like, well, the only way we can do this is by our defense stopping this offense. Well, their young quarterback kind of looked like he figured it out a little bit in the second half, not to mention the offense started going, and that's what drives Ohio State, right, is their offense. If they don't score any points, the defense eventually, listen, when the Bosa brothers left, I haven't seen their defense be that power notch anymore, to be honest with you.
You forgot a guy named Chase Young, or what? What happened with that guy?
Or Chase Young as well, excuse me. So having, like, I guess, a premier pass rusher, which to me is what makes their defense so well versed, because of course they're always going to get the 4 or 5 star guys in the as cornerbacks and safeties. But to me, when Ohio State has those boys up front that could rush the quarterback, that's what makes everything much easier for them. But for me, Ohio State's offense, and I don't see how Oregon, if you only scored 31 points at home against Fresno State, I mean, I really don't know how you're going to keep up with these guys on the road. It's a 12 o'clock game, if I'm not mistaken. Oregon's on the West Coast. I mean, yeah, it just seems like Oregon was basically set up to lose this game.
Look, Jock,
their time.
Yeah, Jock, look, you know,
where's my coffee, man?
here's I think is
ready to go into the shoe with 100 screaming thousand fans at 9 a.m.
Well, that's look, Manny just mentioned it again, and that's true. Like last year, we didn't have any fans in the stadiums, right? So you go to Ann Arbor and you got 100,000 fans there. You go to the shoe, you got 100,000 fans. You go to Neyland Stadium in Tennessee, you got 100,000 fans. It changes the dynamic of the game. Just from an on the field perspective and calling out plays and learn and understand, reading what the defenses are doing and being able to call out certain things and so on. And Jock, you've got a lot of experience with that, right? I know you played over in in the Midwest, I guess you could say, against a lot of these Big 10 schools, Big 12 schools, right? So that atmosphere changes, right? It changes the outcome of the game. It can change the momentum real quick.
Well, I'll be honest with you. You guys seeing it firsthand with Florida State and Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
Florida State fans kept them in the game. That's the only thing that kept that game from getting ugly. They kept them in the game, and you're going to see that throughout college football the whole season. I'll be honest. The team I was impressed with the most was Tulane. I believe no hurricane or anything, God bless those people over there. If they were playing in New Orleans, they would have beat Oklahoma. Just because of how the game was going and how well they played. But that's gonna happen all season. You're gonna see when Florida plays Alabama at the Swamp. It's already been announced that it's sold out. You're gonna see a different ball game, right?
3:30 kick, by the way.
Another 3:30 kick. Look at that.
Yeah.
So let's do this, since we all kind of talked a little bit about give me a score prediction on what you guys think is going to happen in that Oregon OSU game. Manny, we'll start with you with that face.
I'm going to go 42-14, man. Oregon has no
Damn, yeah.
I'm going to go 42-14, man. Listen, Oregon was nice and cute. They made a couple of shots to try to win titles with Chip and his assistant, but ever since, man, listen, Mario's when Mario was is Mario still there?
Yes,
he's having a tough time in that whole conference where I think Kelsey said it best. USC is not at the top anymore. Stanford is now 0-1.
I think UCLA.
It's just UCLA. I mean,
UCLA is on the come up.
Of all the coaches.
Nah, man, Chip Kelly's might have figured it out, especially with
listen.
Nobody ever doubted his coaching skills in college.
No. But Jock, they always said that Chip fits the college level, which is absolutely right. Because when he was the head coach for my Eagles, it was an absolute disgrace, to be honest with you.
He's got a quarterback too.
That players can go out there for 80 plays a game and be fine with it, dude. Like, no, that's not going to happen.
It's crazy because me and Mike Pouncey were having this conversation at practice the other day, and we was talking about Nick Saban. I was like, man, you think Nick lasts in college like it would last in the pros? And he was just like, nah, because you can't be that controlling in the NFL because these guys make more money than you. Like, you're not gonna tell me I'm making $20 million a year. You're not gonna tell me I'm finna be out here in full pads every day. Like, no, you're gonna go first. Like, I can do it out, not do it if you want. You follow the system, but you gotta take care of the players as well. In college, you can do whatever you want to the players because you own them basically. You know what I mean? You can just run them into the ground. Like, they have to do what you say because you're on a scholarship that may not get renewed at the end of the year. So you have to, always do the right thing.
All right, so give me a score, Jock.
I got 42-21. I think I will say this. I know a lot of people count Oregon out. I think Oregon was playing Fresno State looking ahead to the Ohio State game.
Kels, what do you think?
I think 45-17. I think they might have good offense maybe in the first half a little bit, but after that, I don't see them keeping up.
Yeah, I think again it's going to be the defense. I think for Oregon is going to be the Achilles heel for them. I got it. I have a little bit closer. I think it's more along the lines of 38-27 because I think that I think Oregon can still score. So I think it's going to be maybe 38-27 Ohio State. So,
Wait, so does Oregon still run their spread kind of offense still?
Yeah.
That right there must be, not that it's hard for Mario, right? Because you're coming from a guy with that tenacity mentality of just being able to bulldoze you up front and running the football to basically at will. It's kind of hard to kind of see how that fits. Again, I know he's a great recruiter. I'm not saying that, but you're getting a head coach's mentality, basically saying we're doing something different. And I know why he kind of had to keep it that way after Willie Taggart. But still, when your head coach mentality, especially his background, is all about doing things a certain way, and those, I don't know. I don't see how that at times can fit. But listen, I mean, I am not a college head coach, so
let's move on to another big game, which is number 9 against number 10. It's Iowa State, Iowa, which is a huge game on at 4:30 p.m. So it's at Iowa State. So this should be a nice matchup between two top 10 programs, Iowa State and Iowa. I had Iowa winning last weekend. I know. I think we did this last week, and everybody else picked. Who were they playing again? Oh, Indiana.
I picked Iowa.
Yeah,
listen.
I picked Iowa also.
If this was Iowa versus Indiana in basketball, I would have picked Indiana. But football, I picked Iowa.
Why? Iowa had the number 1 player in the country last year in basketball, man. Get it together. Jesus, what's going on with you?
I'm sorry, did Iowa play the Final Four?
Hey, Iowa was good in basketball last year.
Iowa was very good in basketball.
Yeah, they were really good.
Guys now.
Yeah, Manny, come on. Iowa State, Iowa. Brees Hall against whoever it is, the running back over there at Iowa. But listen, Iowa always a tough football team. Again, I still want to see more from Iowa because again, they play. Look, they scored 34 points against Indiana, which is nice. Iowa State only scored 16, so it's kind of concerning against UNI. I believe that's Northern Illinois. So they've got to put up more points against a team that plays solid defense. They always have one hell of a defense. It's Iowa. I don't have much to say about this one other than I think that the Iowa defense is going to be able to kind of sustain the firepower of the running game from Iowa State. I think that's going to be the most important thing. I know they've got some good Brock Purdy, I think, is the starting quarterback for Iowa State. So they've got some players over there. I just think that the Iowa defense is going to be able to hold them off and end up coming out on top on this game. I don't know if anybody wants to kind of chime in on that. We lost Jock there. Huh? Did we lose Jock there?
Yeah, we did.
Yes, we did. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so basically, I'll just say that is this game in Iowa City or
it's in Iowa State?
And
Iowa
also,
State.
College Game Day is going to be there, I believe.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm just shocked that this is such an early rivalry game in week 2.
Yeah, it's usually later in the season, I think.
Correct. Yeah, it's normally later on in the season.
Yeah.
Listen, I have a lot of respect for Iowa football, especially. I actually worked their sidelines when I was younger here in the Orange Bowl when they played. I think they played USC and they ended up losing to Carson Palmer. But dude, like those players have always been well coached, well disciplined. I still think that Iowa is gonna listen. I think the rivalry is lopsided if I'm correct.
Yeah, I think Iowa's have the edge.
Yeah, Iowa's had the edge. Well, if you think of them as a program, they're tough up front. They just try to just outwork you. And they have some really good wins against top teams in their conference. Again, Iowa State seems like they're very flashy. They try to beat you with speed, and they try to flash you with their uniforms, but half the time they don't win, so I don't think that matters. So I'm just going to pick Iowa here. I think it's a much safer bet, so I just pick Iowa.
I just think Iowa State's been so much better recently in recent years. Their recruiting has It's called it looks like it's called the Cyhawk Trophy. It's the Iowa State football rivalry, right? So it's a Cyhawk Trophy. And it's just been, look, believe it or not, the last I want to look at kind of the last couple of games. Yeah, it's been Iowa the last 5 years. So
Oh, wow.
Iowa's won the last 5 years since 2015. Since 2015.
45 to 22 is the all-time record.
45,
Iowa.
yeah, 45 to 22.
Iowa, right?
Iowa leads. Yeah, the last time
Yeah.
Iowa State won was in 2014 and they won 20 to 17. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, it's a pretty lopsided rivalry. However, it's a rivalry nonetheless. And like you mentioned, Manny, it's early on in the season, so this is going to be kind of tricky. However, I mean, both have good programs. They both have good teams. I just think Iowa's defense, along with obviously their team as a whole. That's a really good football team, man. I don't know, Kels. What's your take on this game?
I agree as well. And Iowa State actually is favored by 4.5, it looks like. But I still think Iowa will come out on top, maybe 31-21, something like that.
31-20. Yeah, I can see that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, yeah, Iowa's scoring points too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
By the way, the last 3 scores, right? The last 3 have been very close. Last year was 18-17 Iowa. The year before that, 13-3 Iowa. And how about this for a barn burner? Forget about defense. 44-41 in overtime.
Yeah,
Iowa.
that was big. Yeah.
And then, so I guess the last lopsided win for Iowa during this, what is it? 1, 2, 3,
2016. Yeah.
3, 4, 5. During this 5-game win streak for Iowa in the rivalry was in 2016, where Iowa just demolished the Cyclones.
Wow.
42-3. Yeah, that's true. So I guess that means you got Iowa winning, huh?
Yeah. I guess we're all doing the upset, even though it's a very close game.
I think what also got me really touched with Iowa was that hospital that they have on the far left side of the field where they take care of their cancer patients and things like that, and they say hello to all the kids. I think that right there, just me being a parent is like, dude, how can I not root for Iowa? Maybe when I don't play Florida in a bowl game or something, but it's like, how can I not root for things like that, right? Like that's just something that goes beyond the sport itself. So that's
pretty neat.
That's freaking awesome.
I like that they do that. That's pretty neat. So yeah, I think that that's Iowa too, man. I think Iowa right now, like I said, I think that they can score. Their offense is much better this year as apparent to how they played last weekend against Indiana. And I thought Indiana was going to be a much better program. I mean, with Michael Penix coming back and some of the recruiting that they've done recently. So it was interesting to see what Iowa did last week. So I definitely have Iowa winning this football game as well. I think it's close though. I think it's close because they're both pretty good. So I'm gonna go 27-23 Iowa. So I think it's going to be a really good game. 27-23 Iowa. What I'm trying to figure out is if there's any other good games this weekend, because I don't know.
Honestly, there weren't really great games. I looked up others, but
well, if you like Pac-12 football, I think I saw USC and Stanford.
Okay.
I also saw. Okay. Yeah, I think I also saw UNLV versus Arizona or something like that.
Yeah, USC and Stanford. I think USC wins that one. Manny, you mentioned the Stanford loss, so
USC will win that for sure.
Yeah, so I think maybe another good game that might be it might be a good game is Texas Arkansas.
Game
Arkansas. I did see that. Yeah, I think Arkansas is favored, they're actually no. Texas is only favored by 7 points.
Yeah.
By the way, that could be an opening hello to Texas entering the SEC.
Yeah, SEC.
Right? Like that to me is something. What's the head coach's name for Arkansas? Sam Pittman.
Oh yeah.
Right. His whole swag. He's like, I'll talk like this. It's like, can you imagine him this week telling his players, man, we got a bunch of bums trying to join our conference, man. He's like that, but still,
that'd be pretty funny.
Arkansas football seems like at least competitiveness, they're on the rise, and that makes the whole conference better. I mean, when Arkansas can actually beat other teams in other conferences, which they have done already since last season, like that to me is making the whole conference itself much better. And it keeps saying, hey, listen, You know, we might be the last three, you know, the laughing stock of the league last couple of years. But when you get good coaching in here, the talent comes with it, right? And those are things that I think Texas has yet to figure that out, that you can fire 5-6 coaches in a row. That's fine, man. But if you don't get the right type of voice to coach all these stars that you're supposedly getting ahead of Oklahoma and what was it, Baylor, and you know all these other teams in Texas, right?
Mhm.
I'm sorry, it's not going to work. But I think with Texas and Oklahoma, with them getting to the SEC, obviously that's going to open up personally the transfer portal even more.
Yeah, it's going to be wild. It's going to be
because now you have
wild.
two bigger programs entering the conference. That for sure, like I mean, Jesus, like you know, it's going to open so much doors for everyone specifically. So, but
I still think that I still think Texas. I mean, look, Bijan Robinson, probably top 2 or 3 backs in the country. Steve Sarkisian's offense, I think that they're going to be able to score some points there. Arkansas, like you said, is a program that's trying to be respectable at the very least in the SEC.
Mhm.
I just think that Texas firepower. I think that they're just a little too much for Arkansas, and I definitely see them. I definitely see them winning this game as well. Maybe a little bit closer than what's the points spread you said, Kels?
Texas is favored by 7.
Yeah, I think they cover that. I think they cover that.
Yeah,
But
I think it would be a
closer.
close game like that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think maybe 7 to 10 points they win. And like you said, it's kind of like a hello to welcome to the SEC. We play big boy ball here, so it's going to be interesting to see. So I can definitely see that. And I think the last one that maybe we can kind of talk about a little bit is another rivalry game. Actually, it's Utah and BYU play this weekend as well. It's a later game, 10:15. So obviously, I think it's 7 o'clock on their end. So that's another rivalry game between Utah and BYU. BYU's a little down this year. Utah, top 25 program. I don't know how good they are. They beat Weber 40 to 17. So yeah, whatever. I mean, take that as you may. But Utah and BYU, good. It'll be a rivalry game, so it'll be exciting to watch if you're staying up that late to watch some college football. But I think that's it, right? Because I think, look, Florida, right? Florida's going to beat USF. I think they're going to smoke them.
Let's hope so.
Maybe here's some other games. Actually,
I don't know. I always have to.
Yeah, so who is Florida State playing?
I have no idea.
Are they playing this week? I didn't even see them on the. Let me look and see.
Let me see real quick.
Are they? Do they play?
Look, you've got.
They don't play. Yeah. So
they don't play, right?
Or
they play?
They play Jacksonville State.
Oh yes.
Okay, Jacksonville State.
And it's at FSU. Yeah, that's why I didn't remember it because it was a meaningless game.
Gotcha. Yeah, Illinois Virginia is another Power 5 game. Nobody cares about that one. No. Tulsa, Oklahoma State. Nobody cares about that. Youngstown State and Michigan State. No. Pittsburgh and Tennessee. Maybe
I saw that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Pittsburgh's only favored by 2.5, I think.
So there you go. I mean, actually,
by the way,
the line's 3 now. The line's 3 now.
Yeah,
it's 3 now. Okay, 2.5 earlier.
I did want to ask you your thoughts on North Carolina's performance against Virginia Tech. That offense looked absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a difference it could be when you don't have running backs to run the football. But still, like I thought personally,
I told you. Didn't I tell you?
I thought Sam can be a little bit more consistent at least.
Yeah, he was.
But he looked like he was a rookie quarterback or a true freshman hitting out there. Again, last year, no fans.
I wonder if the crowd was a factor.
Listen, going into Blacksburg at a night game with Enter Sandman and those crazies, that's one of the best environments in college football for a home team to play in. Mm-hmm. That's tough, man. That is tough. Plus, you've lost Michael Carter, Javonte Williams. You've lost Diami Brown. You've lost their other wide receiver. You've lost I think Corrales, their tight end, is gone too. You lost a lot of meat on that offensive line. You lost a lot, man. You lost a lot on that team, and people don't understand that this is not Alabama where you got 4 and 5-star guys behind Brown and Williams and Carter and those guys, right? So who is Sam Howell going to throw it to? Who is he going to throw it to, right? This kid Josh Downs, or the wide receiver, had a really great game in the Orange Bowl, but that's it, right? Like, I mean, what else do they have? I think that they're not as good as people thought they were going to be, and all these people giving them praise about, oh, they're going to play Clemson in the ACC championship game because they can score, and Sam Howell this and Sam Howell that. Listen, Sam Howell's great. Okay, he's a very, very, very good quarterback, and I still think he's going to put up some great numbers. And UNC is not going to be terrible because of Sam Howell. But if it wasn't Sam Howell on that football team, UNC would not get the praise and would not be, they wouldn't be talked about as much as they're being talked about now.
Well,
but I said this last year. I said, when they lose all these guys, they're not going to be that good. They're going to be overrated. And that number 10 rating was definitely way too high for them. Virginia Tech came out to play. And playing in Blacksburg is hard, man. So they ran into a buzzsaw there, and I said it was a trap game, and I think Blue told me no, it's not a trap game. They're ready. No, that was a trap game. And I you know what? I don't even think that was a trap game. I just think that they're not as good as people think they were.
All I know is that Mac Brown was all over social media the entire offseason wearing different Jordans. Wish that I could get my hands on them, but that's all we saw, right? And it's all funny games but people seem to forget they had a bad performance against Mississippi State. I'm not gonna lie. I'm sorry, not Mississippi State. Excuse me, Texas A&M. I got the colors confused.
Yeah, it's the same color, right?
but still, like they beat Miami, and they had and they felt like they had this swag, as they called it, and they lost a bowl game. They lost a running backs and some talent, but of course, I thought Sam Howell was gonna take that next step. You know what? I have to do what I got to do. Like basically a Denard King performance against NC State. Nothing's going to work, but basically it's me. That's it. And you basically saw what an atmosphere can do to it. To 100%. Me personally, I still think he's an uprising player. He's not what I thought he was going to be, but man, like that's a difficult part to get into, right? You're going on the road and 100,000 fans your first game on a Friday. He's not even on a Saturday. You're the only game that people are going to be watching at the same time. The pressure is on. It's like,
it's tough to play there, man. It's tough to play there. It really is. So, I mean, I think they'll be okay. But look, I mean, another team that has lost a little bit of their mojo too, I hate to say it, is Clemson. I love DJ Uiagalelei, but Justin Ross did not play very well against Georgia. I get it. Georgia is, I mean, they've got one of the best defenses in the country. So I get that, right? And they were still missing some guys. However, you don't have Travis Etienne anymore, okay? You don't have T. Higgins, and you don't have who else was it?
You don't have a lot of guys that you've been counting on for 3-4 years.
You lost
these guys that got drafted, Jazz. You counted on their experience and on their leadership and on their knowledge of knowing this offense. And it was so clear against Georgia. They were not prepared whatsoever. Routes were off. They couldn't run the football. Third down conversion was absolutely atrocious.
They lost guys on the offensive line. They gave up 7 sacks.
This is why I told you, Jazz, and I told Jock this. Manny's he has to be able to somehow compete in this conference, man. I don't see another team up there.
I think he will. I think he will. I mean, it's hard to compete against Alabama, so we'll kind of forget about that one already.
Alabama's on the ACC.
Yeah. We'll kind of forget.
Even the ACC.
I don't know who.
You can't be losing to Pittsburgh.
No, you can't. You can't. No, 100%. You can't lose to Pittsburgh. You can't lose to any of the teams this year in the ACC. And quite frankly, and Jock mentioned this earlier, I think before we got on the call, but Miami should, just based off of what we saw this weekend, Miami should be able to compete with Clemson this year. So if that's the case, then you got yourself an opportunity to get into that playoff mix. I don't know how close it'll be in the playoff mix because some of the other teams are really good in the SEC and in the Big 12 and Big 10. I mean, there's some other really good teams. So I don't know if the ACC will have a team in the playoffs this year unless they can kind of run the table and Clemson and Miami play at the end or whatever it is. Then maybe. But it's going to be tough. But I agree with you. They have to be able to compete and win every single game that they play in the ACC this year. And outside of the ACC, look, their next matchup is going to be big time matchup is going to be against Michigan State, who apparently is better. But they only won 2 games last year. Okay, so like everybody kind of temper their expectations of it's Michigan State. They won 2 games last year. Okay, and then they played and they beat a bad Northwestern team. So let's kind of just chill out and see what happens there. Every team in Florida right now right, is kind of riding a little bit of a high, except maybe Miami because because they got their ass kicked. But look, Florida is a good team. Okay, Florida's got some players on that team. Their running backs, by the way, your running backs looked excellent. Okay, Malik Davis.
Yep.
Malik
Yeah, he
Davis
looked
looked great.
amazing.
Okay,
Pierce looks like he's on a mission.
yeah.
We
What's
don't
the
need
Yep.
Lingard.
so and Lingard even got in the game. That was Lingard got in the game. That's amazing, man. Unbelievable. I was like, wait a second, did he get some burn? So I mean, look. By the way, some of the guys that transferred out of Miami, Patrick Joyner, had a safety and a sack for Utah State under Coach Banda over there at Utah State. He seems to be playing really well. I think it's just interesting to see some of these players that transfer out, whether it's Miami or somewhere else, kind of be successful elsewhere. So, but whatever. That's neither here nor there. Thank you guys for doing this. This was fun. We kind of went over some college football and we got to talk some Canes and Gators and no Seminoles. So that's good. We didn't talk about that.
Yes.
So Jazz, so you guys have a Canes pregame show and whatnot, right? On Saturday?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out the time now because I'll be at the game. So we might have to,
awesome.
yeah, we might have to do a pregame show early. So
awesome. So for all Gator fans that are listening, we will be having a Swamp Chats pregame. I believe, Kelsey, we agreed to what?
I think it was at 12.
12, I think maybe
Games at 1. You want to do 11:30?
Let's do 11:30.
Okay.
yeah, do it before college game day ends because people like to tune into the end.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, we can do 11:30 then.
So yeah, so we'll be doing that. Sorry guys, no Florida State show.
No, sorry, not sorry.
Better that way.
See you guys later, man.
All right,
I'm out
guys,
of here.
thank you for joining.
All right.
Talk to you next week.
All right, bye.